Commander Alan Reeves stood at the viewport of Earth Space Station Alpha, staring at the stars. The endless black ocean of space usually calmed him, but not today. Today, those same stars seemed to watch him back, hiding secrets he could not yet see. "Commander, we have something unusual," said Lieutenant Peter Jackson, his voice cutting through the quiet hum of the bridge. "Unknown signal coming from just beyond Mars orbit." Reeves turned away from the viewport, his face showing no emotion despite the quickening of his heartbeat. "Put it on the main screen." The large screen at the front of the bridge flickered to life, displaying a series of strange symbols and patterns that seemed to shift and change as they watched. "Is it some kind of code?" Reeves asked, walking closer to the screen. Major Samantha Wells, the tactical officer, was already typing rapidly at her station. Her dark hair was pulled back in a tight bun. Her brown eyes narrowed in concentration. "It's not matching any known human communication patterns, sir. The signal strength is incredible. Whatever sent this has technology far beyond ours." A heavy silence fell over the bridge as the meaning of her words sank in. After decades of searching the stars for signs of intelligent life, it seemed that intelligent life had found them first. "Alert Earth Command," Reeves ordered, "and get Dr. Freeman up here right away." Within the hour, Dr. Gerald Freeman arrived on the bridge. He was a short man with thick glasses and wild gray hair that seemed to defy gravity. As Earth's top expert in languages and communication theory, if anyone could make sense of the signal, it was him. "Fascinating," Freeman said, adjusting his glasses as he studied the patterns. "This isn't random. There are clear repeating structures here." He pointed to several areas of the screen. "See how these symbols repeat? This is language, Commander. Alien language." Reeves nodded, trying to hide his growing unease. "Can you translate it?" "With time, perhaps," Freeman said. "But the complexity suggests a highly advanced civilization." The communication system crackled suddenly, and a voice filled the bridge. "Commander Reeves, this is Earth Command. We're detecting a large object moving into the solar system. It's on an intercept course with Earth." Reeves exchanged worried glances with Major Wells. "Size and speed?" "The object is massive, sir, approximately 20 kilometers in length. It will reach Earth orbit in 72 hours at current speed." Freeman looked up from his work, his face pale. "They're coming here." "All stations on alert," Reeves ordered. "I want constant monitoring of that ship. Dr. Freeman, I need progress on that translation. Now." Earth's governments quickly formed a unified response team. Representatives from every major nation gathered at the United Earth Space Command headquarters in Geneva. The room buzzed with nervous energy as scientists, military leaders, and politicians argued about how to handle the situation. Admiral Grace Chen, head of Earth's defense forces, stood at the front of the room. "We need to prepare for the possibility that these aliens are hostile," she said firmly. "Our weapon systems are being readied, but against a civilization capable of interstellar travel, our defenses may be limited." A young officer entered the room and handed a note to the admiral. Her face grew serious as she read it. "We've received another transmission," she announced. "Dr. Freeman has managed a partial translation." The room fell silent as she pressed a button on the table. The large screen on the wall displayed the message. "People of Earth, we are the Krelthar. We have observed your world for many cycles. Your resources are required for the continuation of our species. Surrender your planet and be relocated, or face extinction. You have 72 of your hours to comply." The silence that followed was deafening. Lieutenant Olivia Parker, a strategic advisor known for thinking outside normal military doctrine, spoke first. "They expect us to either surrender or fight in a conventional way," she said. "But what if we do neither?" All eyes turned to her. "The message suggests they've been watching us, studying us," she continued. "But have they truly understood us? Human unpredictability has been our greatest strength throughout history." Dr. Freeman nodded slowly. "There's something unusual about their language patterns. It's too perfect, too logical. It lacks the messiness of human languages that evolved naturally over time." "You think these Krelthar might think differently than we do?" Admiral Chen asked. "It's possible," Freeman replied. Their communication suggests a highly structured, perhaps even hive mind type of consciousness. Beings who value order and predictability, above all else. Lieutenant Parker's eyes lit up. Then our chaos might be our greatest weapon. Over the next 48 hours, Earth prepared, not just with weapons, but with strategy. Dr. Freeman worked tirelessly to understand the alien language, finding patterns and structures that revealed more about the Krelthar than they had intended. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Parker gathered a team of unconventional thinkers, artists, game theorists, and even some former criminals, people who specialized in thinking in ways that defied prediction. The Krelthar expect logical responses, Parker explained to her team. Either we surrender or we fight in ways they can predict and counter. What they won't expect is chaos with purpose. As the alien ship drew closer, its massive form became visible even to the naked eye, a dark shape blotting out the stars. Smaller ships began to deploy from it, taking positions around Earth like predators surrounding prey. In Geneva, Earth's leaders gathered to formulate their official response. The debate was heated. Some argued for immediate surrender to buy time. Others insisted on showing military strength, launching everything they had at the alien fleet. Admiral Chen listened to all sides before speaking. Both options play into their expectations, she said. Dr. Freeman and Lieutenant Parker have proposed a third option. Parker stepped forward. We send them a message they cannot predict or fully understand, one that contains hidden meanings and data that will confuse their analytical systems. And we end it with a statement they will interpret as emotional and irrational. What statement? Asked the president of the United Earth Alliance. Parker smiled, slightly. You have sealed your fate. How does threatening them help us? Someone asked. It's not a threat, Dr. Freeman explained. It's a prediction they won't understand. To them, it will seem illogical. Why would a technologically inferior species claim such confidence? It will force them to reevaluate their understanding of us. After hours of debate, Earth's leaders agreed to the plan. The message was prepared, embedded with complex data packages hidden within seemingly simple transmission patterns, data that contained the accumulated military knowledge of human history, but scrambled in ways that would seem like nonsense to the Krelthar's logical minds. Commander Reeves was given the honor of sending humanity's response. As the countdown reached 0, he pressed the transmission button. Message sent, he confirmed. Now all of Earth waited, watching the stars and the massive alien ship that hung among them, wondering if humanity's greatest strength, its unpredictable, chaotic nature, would prove to be its salvation or if they had just witnessed Earth's last meaningful transmission. The entire command center fell silent as they waited for the Krelthar response. Outside, people across Earth looked up at the night sky where the massive alien ship was visible, a dark shape against the stars. How long until they respond? Admiral, Chen asked, her voice cutting through the tense silence. Based on their previous communication speed, we should have received something by now, Dr. Freeman said, checking his data screens. The delay suggests they're processing our message. Lieutenant Parker smiled slightly. Good. Confusion was exactly what we wanted. Captain Daniel Morris entered the command center, his uniform crisp despite having been awake for nearly 30 hours. A decorated veteran of Earth's resource wars, Morris had more combat experience than almost anyone in the room. Admiral, he said, nodding respectfully to Chen. I've been analyzing the Krelthar ship movements with my team. There's something unusual about their positioning. He walked to the main display and brought up a tactical map showing the alien vessels surrounding Earth. See how they maintain perfect geometric patterns? No random placement, no ships moving independently. Everything flows from a central command structure? Like a hive mind, Freeman murmured. Exactly, Morris agreed. They move as one organism, not as individual ships with independent captains making decisions. Lieutenant Parker joined them at the display. That's consistent with their communication patterns. Highly structured, logical, no room for individual interpretation, which gives us an advantage, Morris said, his eyes lighting up with understanding. They've never faced a species that embraces chaos as a tactical approach. Their simulations and predictions are based on logical responses, not creative improvisation. Admiral Chen nodded slowly. So we fight unpredictably. We don't just fight unpredictably, Parker said. We become unpredictability itself. In another part of the complex, Dr. Lisa Rodriguez worked with a team of quantum physicists to modify Earth's communication arrays. A brilliant scientist with a reputation for thinking beyond conventional limits, Rodriguez had been pulled from her research lab the moment the Krelthar arrived. The standard transmission methods won't be enough, she explained to her team as they worked. We need to create quantum entangled communication nodes throughout the solar system. Her assistant, Ben Wright, looked up from his workstation. But the technology is still experimental. We've never deployed it on this scale. Rodriguez didn't pause in her work. The Krelthar expect us to use traditional communication channels that they can monitor and disrupt. If we can establish a quantum network, our communications will be instantaneous and impossible for them to intercept. Across the globe, military units prepared for a fight unlike any in human history. Instead of conventional battle plans, they received instructions that seemed to make no sense, until viewed through the lens of deliberate chaos theory. Meanwhile, in orbit, Commander Reeves and the crew of Space Station Alpha monitored the Krelthar fleet's every move. Sir, we're detecting unusual energy signatures from the alien ships, Major Wells reported. They appear to be scanning Earth's defenses in detail. Reeves frowned. They're preparing for attack. Sir, Lieutenant Jackson called out suddenly. Incoming transmission from the Krelthar. The message appeared on their screens. Your response is illogical. Resistance will result in destruction. You cannot prevail against our technological superiority. We will begin resource extraction in 24 of your hours. Any resistance will be met with force. Dr. Freeman studied the message carefully. Their language has shifted. It's less certain, more forceful. I think we've rattled them. They expected fear or straightforward defiance, Parker said. Not confidence they couldn't understand. A priority alert sounded throughout the command center. Admiral Chen opened the secure channel. Admiral, this is Rodriguez. We've discovered something important about the Krelthar technology. Their ships emit a specific frequency pattern when communicating with each other. It's remarkably similar to the patterns we use in quantum computing. Can we disrupt it? Chen asked. Better, Rodriguez replied, excitement clear in her voice. We might be able to introduce noise into their system, not enough to shut them down, but enough to create confusion in their coordinated movements, as why. Earth's leaders debated their next move. Captain Morris approached Lieutenant Parker with an idea. What if we launch a small stealth vessel, he suggested. Not to attack, but to observe from inside their defensive perimeter. If we can get close enough, we might learn more about their weaknesses. Parker considered it. It would be extremely dangerous. I'll lead it myself, Morris said without hesitation. A small crew, minimum profile, using the new stealth technology. From the Mars outpost, the plan was approved within hours. The ESS Deception, a small vessel designed for reconnaissance, was prepared for the mission. Captain Morris selected a crew of 5, each chosen for their ability to think creatively under pressure. As Morris's team prepared to depart, an unexpected discovery came from an unlikely source. Nancy Cooper was a music teacher from a small town in the Midwest. When the Krelthar arrived, she had been teaching her students about rhythm and harmony. Out of curiosity, she played a recording of classical music while watching the live feed of the alien ships on her tablet. Edward, look at this, she said to her husband, pointing at the screen. The alien ship's formation had briefly wavered when a particular musical phrase played. Edward Mitchell, an engineer with a background in acoustics, recognized the significance immediately. It's the complex rhythms, he said. They're creating some kind of interference. They reported their observation to local authorities, who passed it up the chain until it reached Dr. Rodriguez. It makes perfect sense, Rodriguez said when she tested their theory. The mathematical complexity of human music especially jazz and classical pieces with their unpredictable changes, creates patterns that interfere with the Krelthar's communication frequencies. Within hours, Earth prepared a new response to the Krelthar. This time, embedded within the transmission was a complex piece of music. Bach's toccata and fugue in D minor, modified to maximize the disruptive frequencies. As Captain Morris and his crew slipped away from Earth in the deception, using the moon's shadow as cover, Earth sent its response. We acknowledge your technological superiority. However, technology alone does not determine outcomes. We invite you to listen to one of our cultural expressions while you reconsider your position. The Bach piece began to play, broadcasting on all frequencies toward the Krelthar fleet. The effect was immediate and visible. The perfect geometric formation of the smaller alien ships wavered slightly, like ripples on a pond. "It's working," whispered Lieutenant Parker, watching the tactical display. Dr. Freeman nodded. "Now we need to push our advantage. The Krelthar don't understand unpredictability. It's fundamentally opposed to their nature. We need to become more chaotic, not less." As the 24-hour deadline approached, Earth prepared not for surrender, but for a defense unlike any in human history, one based not on meeting force with force, but on introducing enough chaos into the system to make the Krelthar's superior technology less effective. And somewhere in the darkness of space, Captain Morris and the crew of the Deception slipped quietly between the alien vessels, carrying with them quantum entanglement, devices that would allow Earth to monitor and perhaps disrupt the Krelthar's communications from within. The ESS Deception drifted silently between the massive alien vessels. From this close, the Krelthar ships looked even more intimidating, their dark hulls covered with strange symbols that glowed with an eerie blue light. Captain Morris peered through the viewport, his breath steady despite the danger. One wrong move, one detection by the alien sensors, and they would be destroyed instantly. "Status report," he whispered, though there was no need to whisper in space. "We're still undetected," replied Lieutenant Susan Gray, the ship's sensor officer. "Their scanning patterns are incredibly predictable. Once you understand the pattern, it's easy to slip between the scans." Morris nodded. "How many quantum devices have we placed?" "3 so far," Gray said. "2 more to go." The quantum entanglement. Devices were small, about the size of a coffee mug. Once attached to a Krelthar ship, they would create a secure link back to Earth, allowing humans to monitor alien communications without detection. "Captain," called out Ensign Rick Jones from the communication station. "Message from Earth Command. The musical disruption is working better than expected. The Krelthar fleet's formation is showing increasing signs of disorganization." Morris allowed himself a small smile. "Good. That gives us the cover we need. Let's place the remaining devices and get out of here." Back on Earth, the command center was alive with activity. Large screens showed the Krelthar fleet, their once perfect formation now slightly irregular. A small victory, but significant. "Their 24-hour deadline has passed," Admiral Chen noted. "They should have attacked by now." Lieutenant Parker studied the tactical display. "They're recalculating. Our response didn't fit any of their predicted scenarios." Dr. Freeman worked furiously at his station, analyzing the latest Krelthar transmissions. "Their communication patterns are showing signs of stress. There are repetitions and corrections that weren't present before." Dr. Rodriguez joined them, her eyes bright with excitement. "We've expanded the musical disruption. Every radio station, every satellite, every communication array on Earth is now broadcasting different pieces of music, all selected for maximum mathematical complexity." "What about Captain Morris?" Admiral Chen asked. "The Deception reports success in placing all 5 quantum devices," Rodriguez replied. "They're on their way back now." A sudden alert sounded throughout the command center. Major Wells's voice came over the speakers from Space Station Alpha. "The Krelthar mothership is powering up weapon systems, detecting energy buildup consistent with particle beam technology." Everyone fell silent. The moment they had feared had arrived. "All defense systems activate," ordered Admiral Chen. "Prepare for impact." Across the globe, people looked up at the sky in fear as the news spread. The Krell-Thar were about to attack. The first beam struck Space Station Beta, Earth's secondary orbital platform. The station erupted in a ball of fire, visible even from the ground. Station Beta destroyed, reported Major Wells, her voice steady despite the loss. No survivors. Before anyone could react, 3 more beams lanced down from the alien fleet, striking military bases in North America, Asia, and Europe. The precision was terrifying. Each beam hit exactly where Earth's defenses were strongest. "They're targeting our defense capabilities," said Lieutenant Parker. "Just as I predicted." "Admiral," Chen looked at her sharply. "You expected this?" Parker nodded. "Their attack pattern is methodical, logical, targeting what they perceive as our greatest threats first. But they don't understand our true defense strategy." On her signal, Earth's response began. Instead of firing back with conventional weapons, Earth's remaining military vessels executed what appeared to be random, chaotic maneuvers. Fighter jets flew in spiraling patterns. Naval vessels changed course unpredictably. Ground forces relocated in ways that made no tactical sense, at least, not to the logical mind of the Krell-Thar. Commander Reeves watched from Space Station Alpha as Earth's small fleet of space vessels began their part of the plan. Under the HFY, command of Commander Jason Russell, the ships moved in patterns that seemed disorganized but were actually carefully choreographed chaos. "Alpha Station, this is Russell," came the commander's voice over the comm. "Operation Thunderbolt is commencing. How's our musical accompaniment?" "Broadcasting on all frequencies," Reeves confirmed. "The Krell-Thar ships near us are already showing signs of confusion." Russell's fleet of 20 ships, all that Earth could muster against the hundreds of Krell-Thar vessels, began their dance. They flew in patterns based on jazz improvisations, never repeating, never predictable. When the Krell-Thar fired, the human ships were never where they were expected to be. On the Krell-Thar mothership, the High Commander was experiencing something new: frustration. The view screen showed the human vessels moving in ways that defied prediction. Each time the targeting computers calculated a firing solution, the Earth ships would change course in ways that made no sense. "Adjustment required," the High Commander said to the hive mind that connected all Krell-Thar. "Human vessels do not follow logical flight patterns." "Analysis incomplete," came the collective response. "Human tactics do not match any known combat algorithm." The High Commander had conquered 12 worlds before Earth. Each species had fought back in ways that could be predicted and countered. But these humans, they fought like no species the Krell-Thar had ever encountered. Making matters worse, the strange sound patterns the humans were broadcasting, what they called music, created interference in the hive mind communication. Thoughts that should flow smoothly between all Krell-Thar now came with delays and distortions. On Earth, the quantum entanglement network established by Dr. Rodriguez was proving its worth. Thanks to the devices placed by Captain Morris and his team, humans could now see the Krell-Thar communications in real time. "They're confused," Dr. Freeman said, translating the alien messages. "Their attack algorithms rely on predicting our responses, but our responses make no sense to them." Lieutenant Parker nodded in satisfaction. "Now we push harder. Tell Commander Russell to initiate Phase 2. Phase 2 was even more daring. Earth's vessels began targeting specific points on the Krell-Thar ships, not to destroy them but to further disrupt their formation. Each hit was calculated to force the alien ships to adjust position, gradually pushing them into an arrangement that humans had designed. Captain Morris and the Deception had returned safely to Earth. But Morris wasn't resting. He stood with Admiral Chen and Lieutenant Parker, watching the battle unfold. "The Krell-Thar still have overwhelming firepower," he noted. "We can confuse them, but we can't defeat them through conventional warfare." "We don't need to defeat them," Parker replied. "We just need to communicate with them in a way they can't ignore." Dr. Rodriguez entered the command center, followed by Nancy Cooper and Edward Mitchell, the civilian music teacher and engineer who had discovered music's effect on the Krell-Thar. We've compiled every form of human music from classical to rock, from jazz to traditional folk songs from around the world, Rodriguez explained. Each piece has been analyzed for its mathematical complexity and potential disruptive effect. Nancy stepped forward. The most disruptive pieces share common patterns. Unexpected changes, complex rhythms, emotional dynamics. Everything the Krell-Thar language lacks. Edward added, "We've created a composite piece that combines these elements. If broadcast directly into their mothership, it could severely disrupt their command structure." Admiral Chen looked skeptical. "And how do we deliver this musical weapon to their mothership?" Captain Morris stepped forward. "I volunteer to take the deception in again. One final mission." As they debated this risky plan, the Krell-Thar launched a second wave of attacks. This time, they targeted population centers. New York, Shanghai, Cairo. Millions of lives hung in the balance. But Earth was ready. The chaos strategy that Lieutenant Parker had designed was working. The human defense systems, now operating in unpredictable patterns, intercepted many of the attacks. Those that got through did damage, but far less than the Krell-Thar had calculated. For the first time since the aliens had arrived, humanity felt a spark of hope, not because they were winning, the battle was far from over, but because they had found a way to fight back that the Krell-Thar couldn't counter. Earth's defiance was more than just words now. It was a strategy, a way of thinking that turned humanity's seeming weakness, their unpredictable emotional nature, into their greatest strength. Captain Morris's plan to deliver the musical disruption directly to the Krell-Thar mothership was risky, but potentially decisive. The small stealth vessel Deception would need to get much closer to the alien command ship than before, close enough to broadcast the specially designed musical composition directly into their communication systems. The mission has less than a 30% chance of success, Admiral Chen said bluntly during the briefing. Morris nodded. "I understand the risks, but every hour we wait, more lives are lost." Lieutenant Parker studied the tactical display showing the current positions of the Krell-Thar fleet. "Their formation is already compromised. If we time this right, the Deception can slip through during their next attack sequence. I've modified the ship's broadcasting array," Dr. Rodriguez explained. "It can now transmit our musical composition with 10 times the normal power, but you'll need to get within 5 kilometers of the mothership. My crew and I can do it," Morris said with quiet confidence. As they prepared for the mission, the Krell-Thar continued their assault on Earth. Their attacks were still devastating, but increasingly less effective. Human defense systems, operating on Parker's chaos principles, continued to be where the aliens didn't expect. Commander Russell's space fleet had lost 3 ships, but had managed to disable 7 Krell-Thar vessels by targeting unexpected weak points in their hull design. The human ships never attacked the same way twice, making it impossible for the aliens to predict where the next strike would come from. On the ground, civilian coordination centers had been established around the world. People were adapting to the chaos strategy in remarkable ways. Transportation systems ran on random schedules. Communications used constantly changing frequencies. Even power grids switched patterns regularly. The Krell-Thar, who had expected either surrender or a predictable military response, found themselves facing an entire planet that refused to behave according to logical patterns. Captain Morris and his crew prepared the Deception for its most dangerous mission yet. Lieutenant Susan Gray would pilot the ship while Ensign Rick Jones managed the sensor systems to help them avoid detection. Dr. Kevin Porter, an expert in sound engineering, would handle the musical broadcast. "If this works," Morris told his small crew, "we won't destroy the mothership, but we might just break their coordination long enough for Earth to establish communication on our terms." The Deception launched quietly from a hidden base on the far side of the moon. Using the debris from earlier battles as cover, they began their approach toward the massive Krell-Thar mothership. Meanwhile, Commander Reeves on Space Station Alpha noticed something strange in the Krell-Thar attack patterns. "Their attacks are becoming more aggressive but less coordinated," he reported to Earth Command. "It's as if parts of their fleet are acting independently now." Dr. Freeman analyzed the latest alien communications intercepted through the quantum network. The hive mind is showing signs of fracturing. Individual ship commanders appear to be making decisions without central coordination. Lieutenant Parker smiled. Exactly as we hoped. Their logical system can't handle the sustained chaos we're introducing. On the Krelthar mothership, the High Commander faced growing disorder. For the first time in their species' long history of conquest, the collective mind was experiencing disagreement. Some parts of the hive wanted to intensify the attack. Others suggested withdrawal to reassess. Consensus failure, the High Commander announced to the collective. Human resistance exceeds predicted parameters. The response from the collective was troubling. Multiple contradictory suggestions came simultaneously. This had never happened before. Always the Krelthar moved as one. Now fractures were appearing in their unified consciousness. The High Commander made a decision that would have been unthinkable days earlier, to temporarily reduce the hive-mind connection and rely more on central command. It was the only way to restore order. As this happened, the deception slipped closer to the mothership, using the growing confusion in the Krelthar fleet to their advantage. They were now just 10 kilometers away from their target. Energy spike, warned Ensign Jones suddenly. They're charging weapons. Lieutenant Gray's hands moved swiftly over the controls, adjusting their course. They haven't detected us. They're preparing another attack on Earth. Captain Morris watched as the massive weapon ports on the mothership began to glow with energy. This would be their biggest attack yet, a desperate attempt by the Krelthar to end the resistance with overwhelming force. All Krelthar vessels are aligning, reported Jones. They're combining their firepower with the mothership. Morris made a quick decision. This is our chance. While they're focused on the attack, we move in. Full speed, Lieutenant Gray. The deception surged forward, closing the distance to the mothership rapidly. On Earth, Admiral Chen received the warning about the massive energy buildup. All defense systems at maximum. Brace for impact. The Krelthar fired. A blinding beam of energy, combining the power of their entire fleet, streaked toward Earth. It struck the northern hemisphere, targeting the North American Defense Command, but Earth was ready. Using technology developed by Dr. Rodriguez, defense shields activated in a randomized pattern, dispersing much of the energy. The attack still caused damage, but far less than the Krelthar had calculated. At that exact moment, the deception reached its target position, just 4 kilometers from the mothership. Now, Dr. Porter, ordered Captain Morris. Porter activated the broadcast system. The specially designed musical composition, a combination of Bach's mathematical precision, jazz's unpredictable rhythms, and rock's emotional intensity, blasted directly into the Krelthar communication frequencies. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The mothership's external lights flickered. The smaller vessels nearby began to drift out of formation. "It's working," exclaimed Gray. Inside the mothership, the High Commander experienced something entirely new. Chaos. The musical patterns disrupted the hive mind's ability to process information. Thoughts became jumbled. Commands went unheeded. For the first time, the Krelthar experienced confusion. The attack on Earth faltered as the alien fleet lost coordination. Some ships continued firing. Others stopped. Some began to drift aimlessly. The musical disruption is destabilizing their entire command structure, Dr. Freeman reported excitedly as he monitored the quantum network. Their communication is breaking down into individual messages rather than collective thought. The deception had done its job, but now faced the challenge of escaping. The chaos they had created worked both ways. The Krelthar ships were moving unpredictably, making it difficult to find a clear path out. "Evasive maneuvers," Morris ordered, as a disoriented Krelthar vessel suddenly loomed before them. "Lieutenant." Gray skillfully piloted the small ship through the increasingly chaotic alien fleet. Several close calls later, they were clear and heading back toward Earth. "Captain," called Ensign Jones, "we're receiving a direct transmission from the mothership. It's different from their previous communications." The message displayed on their screen. "Cease disruption. Communication requested. Individual exchange, not collective." Morris stared at the message in surprise. "They want to talk? As individuals?" The implications were enormous. If the Krelthar were willing to communicate outside their hive mind, it could mean an opening for actual dialogue rather than demands and threats. He immediately relayed the message to Earth Command. This could be a trick, he warned. Or it could be our first real chance at ending this conflict. As the deception returned to Earth, humanity found itself at a crucial turning point. The chaos strategy had worked better than anyone had dared hope. The Krelthar's greatest strength, their unified hive mind, had been revealed as a weakness when faced with unpredictability and emotion. Now the question was, what would Earth's response be to this unexpected request for communication? The request from the Krelthar for individual communication created intense debate among Earth's leaders. Some saw it as a trap, others as a genuine opportunity to end the conflict. We should maintain our attack while they're disorganized, General Howard argued in the emergency council meeting. This is our chance to strike a decisive blow. Dr. Freeman shook his head. This is the first sign that they're capable of thinking beyond their hive mind. It could be our only chance for meaningful dialogue. Admiral Chen turned to Lieutenant Parker. What's your assessment? You predicted their responses better than anyone. Parker thought carefully before answering. The Krelthar operate on logic and prediction. Our chaos strategy has disrupted both. They're trying to adapt, which means they're learning. I believe the communication request is genuine. They want to understand what they cannot predict. After hours of debate, Earth's leaders made their decision. They would respond to the Krelthar's request, but from a position of strength, not surrender. Dr. Freeman worked with a team of linguists to craft the response. We accept communication. One representative from Earth will speak with one representative from the Krelthar. Location: neutral space between our worlds. Captain Morris volunteered immediately to be Earth's representative. I've been closer to them than anyone. I should go. Not alone, Lieutenant Parker insisted. I need to be there to analyze their responses in real time. And you'll need me to facilitate communication, added Dr. Freeman. Admiral Chen agreed to the three-person team. But you'll be backed by Commander Russell's fleet, positioned at a safe distance but ready to intervene if necessary. The meeting was arranged to take place on a small automated station positioned halfway between Earth's orbit and the current position of the Krelthar mothership. As a sign of good faith, both sides agreed to come in small, lightly armed vessels. The Earth team departed in a diplomatic shuttle, escorted by 2 fighter craft that would remain outside the meeting zone. Captain Morris sat in tense silence as they approached the station, wondering what kind of alien representative they would face. The Krelthar vessel is approaching from the other side, Lieutenant Parker noted, watching the sensor readings. Single craft, minimal weapons as agreed. The station was simple, a central chamber with transparent walls offering a view of space in all directions. Earth's team entered first and waited. The airlock on the opposite side opened, and a single Krelthar entered. The alien was tall and slender, with pale blue skin and large dark eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. Instead of the elaborate armor seen on visuals of their warriors, this one wore a simple garment with symbols that glowed softly. I am Zelkor, the alien said, its voice surprisingly melodic. I speak as one, not as the collective. Dr. Freeman stepped forward. I am Gerald Freeman. This is Captain Daniel Morris and Lieutenant Olivia Parker. We represent Earth. Your transmission, you have sealed your fate? We do not understand this statement, Zelkor said. Explain, Captain Morris answered carefully. It meant that, by threatening Earth, you forced us to respond in ways you couldn't predict. You sealed your own fate by assuming we would behave according to logical patterns. The alien's large eyes blinked slowly. This is not how conquest proceeds. Species resist with force or surrender. They do not change the rules of engagement. Humans have always changed the rules, Parker said. It's how we've survived and evolved. We embrace chaos and unpredictability as tools, not flaws. Zelkor seemed to consider this carefully. The music you transmitted to our mothership, It created disorder in the collective. Some Krelthar now wish to remain individual. This has never happened before. Dr. Freeman leaned forward with interest. Your society has always functioned as a hive mind? For millennia, Zelkor confirmed. It is efficient. It eliminated conflict among our kind. But now... The alien paused, seemingly struggling with a new concept. Now there is discord. Some find the individual state preferable. Freedom of thought, Morris said. Making your own choices instead of following collective decisions. Inefficient, Zelkor replied. But interesting. The conversation continued for hours. The humans learned that the Krelthar had been expanding across the galaxy for thousands of years, absorbing resources from countless worlds. Their hive mind allowed them to operate with perfect coordination, but had limited their ability to adapt to truly novel situations. Your chaos strategy was effective because we could not predict it, Zelkor admitted. Our models failed. And now? Parker asked. What happens next? The alien's glowing symbols pulsed slightly. The collective is divided. Some wish to continue the attack with greater force. Others propose withdrawal to study humans further. Some, like myself, suggest a third option. Which is? Morris asked. Coexistence. Exchange learning, Zelkor said. Your species has something we have lost. Creativity born from individual thought. Perhaps there is value in this we have forgotten. Back on Earth, the conversation was being broadcast globally. People watched in fascination as the first real dialogue with an alien species unfolded. Dr. Rodriguez, monitoring the transmission with Nancy Cooper and Edward Mitchell, noted something interesting. The Krelthar's speech patterns are changing, becoming less structured, more human. Our music affected them more deeply than we realized, Nancy said. It didn't just disrupt their communication, it introduced them to a new way of thinking. On the station, Captain Morris made a bold proposal. We invite a delegation of Krelthar to visit Earth, not as conquerors but as guests. In return, we would send representatives to learn about your civilization. Zelkor was silent for a long moment. This proposal will face resistance from much of the collective, but I will advocate for it. The alien then asked a question that surprised the humans. The transmission that began this conflict. Your final words. You said we sealed our fate. What fate did you envision for us? Dr. Freeman smiled slightly. The phrase wasn't a threat. It was a prediction that your approach would fail. But perhaps the fate you sealed was different than either of us imagined. Perhaps, Zelkor agreed, you helped us discover a fate we had forgotten was possible. 3 days later, after intense negotiations and several more meetings, the Krelthar fleet began to withdraw from Earth's solar system, not in defeat, but in a carefully negotiated disengagement. A small diplomatic vessel remained behind, carrying Zelkor and a few others who had chosen to experience individual consciousness. In return, Earth prepared its first interstellar diplomatic mission. Dr. Freeman would lead the team, with Lieutenant Parker as strategic advisor. They would travel to the Krelthar homeworld not as conquerors or conquered, but as representatives of a species that had earned respect through unpredictability. Before the Krelthar mothership departed the solar system, a final transmission was sent to Earth. It was different from their previous communications, less structured, more thoughtful. We came seeking resources. We depart with questions. Your chaos has introduced disorder to our order. Some find this disturbing. Others find it enlightening. We will return, not as conquerors, but as seekers. You have indeed sealed a fate, one of connection rather than conquest. Earth's response was brief but profound. We look forward to teaching you about chaos and learning from your order. Perhaps together we will discover a balance neither of us could achieve alone. As the massive alien ship disappeared into the depths of space, humanity looked to the stars with new perspective. They had faced extinction and emerged not just survivors, but pioneers of a new kind of interstellar relationship. Lieutenant Parker, watching the mothership's departure from Space Station Alpha, smiled at Commander Reeves. Who would have thought that our greatest weapon would be Bach and jazz? And who would have thought, Reeves replied, that when we said you have sealed your fate, we were talking about their fate as much as ours. Earth's defiance had transformed into something neither humans nor Krelthar could have predicted, the beginning of understanding between two fundamentally different ways of thinking. Chaos and order, individual and collective, emotion and logic. Perhaps there was room in the universe for both.